The devil has learned to use media in insidious ways to distract God's children from the righteous path. The newest frontier in rotting the minds of young people? That's right, podcasts. But you might say, I only listen to Christian podcasts, so I've got to be fine, right? Think again. Sometimes a demonic message can be hidden inside a Christian podcast, like a wolf in sheep's clothing. For the past year, I've been studying the weekly episodes of Boys Bible Study, a so-called Christian podcast with an innocent enough name. But on careful listening, I've uncovered some disturbing hidden messages. Let's take a look at this one from Scott last month.
If you like our free episodes, check out patreon.com/boysbiblestudy.
Now wait a second. What was that weird sounding part at the end? Let's play that back. Using a technique known as backmasking, in which regular audio is played backwards, Boys Bible Study listeners are actually subliminally receiving evil influences. Let's take that whole line in reverse.
The devil is cool, actually.
The devil is cool, actually. Still think this podcast is Christian? But it doesn't stop there. Let's listen to this soundbite from one of Julian's classic catchphrases.
If you subscribe for $5 per month or more, you get access to our entire catalog of bonus episodes. And we make 2 new ones every month that are never available to the public. Så vi ska med upp så då en vad vi bedal och så honor the near woman and yes there all god that the Samuel or stay in here phase it say darkness because it sits with you know we ne.
Now, let's hear all that in reverse.
Anyone who thinks this is a Christian podcast is a freaking idiot. Our only master is the Dark Lord Satan, whose kingdom will reign eternal. Also, a lot of people don't know this, but I'm actually Jewish.
A Jewish person hosting a Christian podcast? It doesn't seem right to me, but let's go on. This conversation I pulled from one of Boys Bible Study's Patreon bonus episodes made me rethink my opinions on the entire realm of Christian podcasting. Now, if we play that back with the backward parts reversed.
This is one of our bonus episodes.
It is much better than our regular episodes.
We hope everyone is having a nice time listening.
Well, I think that's about all I can stand to hear of that. And I hope you'll think twice before you consider becoming a patron of Boys Bible Study. Hey, welcome back to Boys Bible Study. That's right, the boys are back, doing it again. As usual, I'm Ash. I'm here with my co-hosts,
Scott
and Julian.
We have a really special movie for you today. It's a pretty notorious film if you like outsider films such as we do. And we have a special guest who introduced us to it. The film is Quigley. Our guest today is Ben O'Brien. He's an artist and director. You've seen his work on Adult Swim as a member of the group Wham City. Ben, thanks for coming today.
Couldn't be happier to be here. Very excited. Love this movie.
Yeah. How did you get introduced to this film?
The first time I remember hearing about this film, I was visiting the original Wham City venue space in Baltimore. I was visiting my friends Dan Deacon, Connor Kaiser, a bunch of people that lived in that space, and they were just watching the trailer over and over again. And it was as if the movie hadn't been released yet or something. Like they were just so pumped about this movie, Quigley. And yeah, they were just watching the trailer and analyzing the trailer. And then, of course, when it came out, everyone saw it, and it was just kind of an instant classic.
Everyone saw it. It was the film that swept around the world.
Yeah, everyone's seen it at this point.
Quigley's very special. It's been requested that we take a look at it, and I think you were the perfect person to take us through.
I'm honored.
I've seen Scott. You'd seen Quigley before. I know that Everything Is Terrible has done little things with it. I remember seeing clips at live shows and stuff. What was your experience with this film?
I had not seen this before. I wasn't sure if I had or not because I went through a year or two of my life where I watched a lot of dog movies, and some of them have similar premises. And, there's a lot of great Gary Busey moments in cinema in general. So you're not always sure what you saw with what. But, yeah, I became aware of it when I was working on Doggy Woggy's Poochie Woochies with our buds at Everything Is Terrible. And there was another movie that I definitely did see that it reminds me a lot of called Fluke, which is
Fluke.
It's really good. It's kind of the same premise as this, but higher production value. And it's really well done. Eric Stoltz plays the shitty dad who gets in a car accident and is going to die, but they make him live his life in the body of a dog. Why? And then another dog with the voice of Samuel L. Jackson is kind of like his guy who is his mentor in life.
Oh, wow. That really is the A-list Quigley. Okay.
Yeah,
what is this premise? Because there's also, of course, the notorious outsider film Love on a Leash, which I'd never seen Quigley. I've seen Love on a Leash like 5 times accidentally.
Incredible movie.
Incredible movie. Another just, person must possess a dog's body.
Must possess dogs.
What is the perpetual human fascination with soul transference?
100
to a
Deeds
dog
of Eddie McDowd.
Right. Another
The
classic
kids version.
Another classic cultural moment. What do we think as a group? Like, what is the human fascination with animal soul transference?
I don't want to look at a dog and like imagine that there's a human spirit trapped inside of it.
Well, I think that's the thing. It's like dogs. You're always like, man, what a life, to be a dog.
Yeah.
And that they're like our best friends. And it's just, and that question of like, what is going on in their head? What if they're trying to communicate to me?
You need to know that everybody's going through something.
Yeah.
Even dogs could just be trying to get into heaven.
Right.
Because they don't go to heaven.
I was wondering, because in terms of other movies where people become dogs, like I was clocking it, and Gary, this movie is very efficient in the way that it sets up information. It's like Gary Busey's a bad guy. He hates dogs. All right.
Yeah.
And then he dies. Like he dies at like 4:42. He's dead.
Yeah.
And then the first moment that he's being pet as a dog is like around the 8-minute mark. And do you feel like the other movies you've seen where people become dogs, that's kind of they're kind of getting to it fast, it seems.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I respect that.
One of his first 5 lines in this movie is, everyone who owns a dog must be killed. And it's an order. He orders someone to do that.
I believe he says executed.
Yeah.
I want everyone that owns a dog executed.
That word choice is very. I want everyone who owns a dog to be executed.
And he slips in so he like runs up, slips in the shit. He slips in dog shit, gets dog shit all over him, gets up and nothing, just immediately goes to him. I'm fine. Kill everyone who has dogs.
Yeah.
And then just goes into his office building. Like he's not covered in shit.
1 minute mark of the movie.
Yeah. No, I think you're right, Ben. I think in many movies, this would be an entire first act. But in Quigley, it is, under 10 minutes.
It's like, we got it. He's an evil corporate guy. We don't need more than that.
He saw, not only did he slip and shit, but he saw a dog and he was just, his first reaction was to run across the street and try to kill it. Yeah. This is the head of a Fortune 500 company, people. Right.
What was he going to do with it? Kill a dog with his bare hands?
Well, we're gonna take you, the listener, if you don't feel like you have the time or constitution to watch Quigley, we will take you through it. I do want to say, just for like concept boys Bible study purposes, we'll save this discussion for the end. I will say that just at the end, it clinched that this is a Christian movie. I would say it, of the films that we cover for the show, obviously we've covered many that are like directly biblical, scriptural. This movie is definitely on the secular spectrum. It is a spectrum. However, I honestly, and the whole time we were watching, I was like, I'm happy we're watching this. Is this a Christian film? And right at the end, they stick the landing for reasons that we can get into. But I think we should start formally discussing this by talking about the all-star cast, because that they really lend so much color to this movie. And let's start with the protagonist himself. Let's start with Gary Busey as Archie Channing. Archie Channing.
Sounds like one word.
I'm sure everyone listening has heard of Gary Busey, but let's talk about him as he connects to this film. What can we say about Gary?
I don't know why I think this, but there was like this story I heard that it was like the guy that directed this movie or someone that wanted it made was like a part of the same church as him.
Oh,
or
wow.
like he was, or he like lost a bunch of money. I can't remember. It's like those kind of like myths you hear about people like, oh yeah, he lost all this money and now he's got to do these like crazy movies. But like something about like they're a part of the same like intense, like maybe it's Born Again kind of church or something. And that's how he met the director. That I don't know if that's true. That's just something that like I've always thought in my head.
Yeah, this definitely has the vibe of like I've lived in Van Nuys for like 50 years and I make enough money to live with like in the same neighborhood as a bunch of like B and C list actors.
Yeah.
So, hey everybody, let's make a movie.
I think that like that scene, like for me, the scenes where he's like in a cage or on his knees with the like collar and the like keys in his mouth, like is so demeaning. It's like, and that's why sometimes I'm like, yes, he's being forced to make this movie or something. Like, it's like that Britney Spears tweet or something where it's like people are watching it like, he's not okay. He's going to send us a signal in this scene. Like, let us know if you're being coerced or something.
Yes.
It's just like so embarrassing with that collar and honestly, or not embarrassing, but it's very submissive, you know?
Yes. It's like, it's like a light BDSM scenario.
Yes,
it's like
it
like,
really is.
Not only is he this, actor who admittedly is like, I don't know what list you would put him in. I would say he's flirted with like the D list and stuff, during his life. And so obviously, we're not considering Gary Busey an A-list actor, yet it does feel like being in this movie, it could be a step down for him, except for that he like gives it 100%. But there's literally these visual symbols throughout the whole film. Like you said, Ben, he's literally on his knees begging. Anytime it shows him in human form, he has like a literal dog collar around him. Like the visual storytelling of this film says this man is in bondage.
Yes.
This man has a master.
Puppy play.
Yes.
The meta story.
Yes.
And additionally, it feels like a parody of what he actually says that he went through after he got in his accident and went to the other side when he was on the operating table.
Yeah, please talk about that. I think that's very interesting.
I am going to read from his own words as told to People magazine. I was surrounded by angels, balls of light floating all around me, and I felt trust, love, protection, and happiness like you cannot feel on earth. It's the feeling the angels live in, he said. 3 angels came up to me. I was 1/4 of an inch wide and 1 foot long. That is your soul, and your soul is housed in the column of your spine. And 3 balls of light came up to me and talked to me. The one on the left talked to me in an androgynous voice and said the direction I was going in was good, but because of my responsibility to mankind, I had to look for helping spirits around. Then a light said, "You may come to us now or return to your body and continue your destiny." And every time he spoke, I felt so loved, like a little baby in the arms of his brother. So when you hear the truth over there, you do it. And the word truth stands for taking real understanding to heart. That is the truth of your essence and your soul. The truth told me I wasn't finished over here on earth. When you feel the truth, boom, you go for it. The truth is the strongest ordinance you have in your body, your mind, your soul, and your being. Yee! End quote.
Oh my God, what a legend. Yeah, like that was such a sublime retelling of an experience, and it is in ways like eerily similar to this film.
Well, okay, so I was doing some Googling while you were reading, and Curtis Armstrong says that he came to the set, Gary Busey. Curtis Armstrong plays his assistant, who also played Booger on Nerds, big role in the film. He says that Gary Busey got to the set and he said, I can't do this scene because this isn't what heaven looked like. I've been to heaven. Wow. And it doesn't look like this. He said the sofa's all wrong. That mirror's ridiculous. He said they don't have mirrors. And Curtis Armstrong says he went crazy over the design of heaven. So really good. That's a really good point because it's true.
The one you see in the movie is actually what heaven looked like.
Yeah, this is the most accurate depiction of heaven ever put to celluloid.
No, but except they kept the mirror because he has that mirror and he looks at it. He might even say something about the mirror, like, "What is this? What is this mirror?"
Yeah, then that does then lead me to believe that like this is a movie with a divine touch. Like, Busey brings to this movie the spirit of an actor who's actually been through this all himself. And I think that comes across because, like, as goofy as this film is, like, we can all agree, like, Gary Busey sells it every step of the way. Like, I think he does a fantastic job in this movie.
Agree. He brings to this movie as much as I believe he brought to any movie he's ever been in. Mm-hmm. Like, no matter if big budget, Beverly Hills Cop or whatever, I think he's like, he just has such a wonderful delivery. Like, if he wasn't just so psycho, he'd be considered, I think, a better actor by people.
Yeah, he said the line, like, you need to find and destroy this virtual reality CD-ROM game.
Yeah.
In, like, such a way that it felt so natural and you don't even second guess it.
Yes, and have you found the CD-ROM?
Can't find it.
Okay. That's not good. We have to destroy that. I don't want anyone to see what's on there because it's not good.
Yeah, I mean, he really, his delivery is so comfortable, like, just so good and unique. Just spills out of him. Really elevates the film.
Yes, it does. No, this film felt like a real film.
Honestly, on this time watching it, I was like, this movie's almost too good. Like, the guy really gets, like, storytelling enough. Like, he understands that movies have to keep moving and you have to keep showing new information.
Yeah.
And he understands stakes and, like, screenwriting. I'm like, it's almost not even fun.
Yeah.
And the dog does a good job.
Oh,
the dog is amazing.
The dog is amazing. Speaking of star-studded cast, Quigley as himself. I've got to shout out to one of the best performances in the film. I mean, the guy kills it.
It's hard to work with dogs too, and that dog really just delivered.
Yeah. It all seemed very smooth, but there are some other notable people in this film. We do have Oz Perkins in a notable supporting role. Which you mentioned during the film. But yeah, I most recognize him from Legally Blonde, a very iconic role in that film.
Yeah, it's weird that, like, he was able to get, I don't know, I guess it's just like, if you really want to get B-level actors to fill your film, you probably just can. There's enough of them that they'll just say yes.
Sure.
Yeah. Totally.
And even talking to our new director friend, Gabriel Sabloff, who we had on a couple weeks ago, a Christian film director with Pureflix, he was talking about that realm of actor that's, they're very talented and good to work with, but the type of actor who, if you meet the quote, they will be there. Eric Roberts is a very common, we've mentioned him by name many times doing the show. He's one of those type of actors. Ray Wise is another. I think that it's possible some other supporting actors in this film were that way too.
They all live on the same block in Van Nuys.
Right. Like throw a rock and you'll hit Oz Perkins walking down the street in in Van Nuys, perhaps. But Yeah, he was Gary Busey's character's like guardian angel during this film, and a lot of the quick banter between the two of them was some of the comedic highlight of this movie. It was really deranged.
You look okay.
I'm not. Look carefully. A grown man locked inside of the dog pound. Now get me out of here. Or adopt me. Just adopt me.
I think in terms of the comedic highlights, you can't leave out the service workers that all have accents and they're all like bumbling idiots to some insane degree. No one knows how to use a net.
Yes.
I don't know if it's like some, it feels a little bit like Punching Down a little bit, that everybody like who isn't a CEO is complete fucking idiot. But the one guy with the German accent is like, he really went for it.
Yeah, there's multiple entire scenes of a janitor with a thick German accent pursuing the dog Quigley around this office building unsuccessfully.
Paw prints on this desk.
This is impossible.
Could someone have left a window open last night?
9? Not unless someone is going home after I did. And I do believe I was the last one out of the building last night.
Frank, if there is a wild animal loose in this building, I want it found by whatever means necessary.
This I will do.
At one point, he wipes up urine with a rag and then unthinkingly sticks it in his mouth while he continues on with other things.
Classic.
A lot of slapstick.
Yeah. Wholesome, relatively wholesome slapstick. There was some dog shit and some urine. But like it maintained its family friendly sensibilities. Notably co-starring as one of the bumbling cops who like you said, Ben, does not know how to use a net is I hope I'm saying his name right. Bill Fagerbach. I most know him voicing the iconic character Patrick from the SpongeBob cartoons, but according to his IMDb, he's been in a lot of things. But yeah, I mean that's a huge cultural icon right there. I mean, think about a cartoon that's made more of an impact in the last like decade or so than SpongeBob.
Seriously, and like I said, he also had a role as the comedic character on Coach.
Oh right, yeah,
and he was he was. I loved that show, and I thought he was so funny.
Yeah. Anyone else I wanted to mention in the cast, just this weird like coincidence that I just became aware of this actor, Christopher Atkins. He made his debut as an actor back in he was young in 1980. He played the young male lead in The Blue Lagoon, which was a very sort of edgy and controversial movie of its time. And he's this very like he was also in Dallas for a while when he was young. He has this like in the 80s, he was this like blonde surfer twink, like, very good looking. That was sort of his like vibe. And it was just weird because I just became aware of his work. And now here he is in 2003 playing Gary Busey's brother in the film, the sort of like good guy, like family man equivalent to Gary Busey's like evil CEO. So that was an interesting casting as well. Anyone else in the film I might be forgetting? Those might be the main guys.
Yeah, we had mentioned Curtis Armstrong from Revenge of the Nerds earlier.
Right.
But yeah, it's just funny that they made it very clear that he is 35 right now. The only character who would say what age they are. And we looked it up, and he was 50 at the time.
Yeah, he's literally like, I am 35 years old in the movie. It was so funny.
It's my 35th birthday. Yeah. So they just couldn't change it to 45th? Like.
Right.
He looked exactly 50 years old.
In order to really get into this movie, we have to talk about its writer and director, the creator of Quigley. This guy's name is William Hillman, Bill Hillman. What can we say about Mr. Hillman? He's quite a character.
Yeah, so you can find pretty much his whole life story laid out in his very cleanly designed website. He's basically a Hollywood's jack of all trades. He does it all. Let's just go down the sidebar of his website. William Byron Hillman. He got his start working on what did he work on? Oh, Ice Station Zebra is where he started as like a sidekick to Rock Hudson or something.
Oh, wow.
And he claims that from there, whenever it was like downtime, they weren't shooting his scenes, he would just sort of hang around and shadow like the editors and directors and cinematographers. And from there, that's how he learned to be the successful filmmaker he is today, with what seems like about 1,000 different movies and books and coloring books and merchandise and about 8 different movies coming up, including Izzy's Story. Almost Ruined Christmas is a good one. Yeah, looks like a guy who just, got his fingers in a lot of different pots. Get Her is a good one. We're just scrolling through his website looking at the posters clearly designed after the movies are shot. Definitely not just putting them up there hoping that the movies someday get made. Definitely not posters that are just somewhere. A bunch of stock photos edited together.
He also updates this website updated this website January 23rd, 2021.
Yeah, he's still
which
active.
I think is so awesome.
That's promising.
Yeah, and if you look at his website, Quigley 2 coming soon.
Coming soon.
Yes.
Coming early 2021.
Yeah.
Does it say that?
It says that about something.
That's so
it says,
cool.
Forget Her, or maybe Izzy's Story says early 2021.
Yeah, like Julian was saying, it's all these like spec DVD covers that are clearly composited from stock photos. Almost Ruined Christmas looks like a banger. There's also QuigleySite.com, which, as you may be able to guess, appears to be a site in order to disseminate information on the character Quigley. Subheading here, The Heavenly Palm Canine Angel. There are features on the website such as Quigley Brand, where he states that he is coming out with a Quigley line of dog products, including leashes, harnesses, toys, clothes, treat canisters. There's also going to be various things for children, fanny packs, puzzles, coloring books, posters, crayons.
What drives me nuts though, because I come up one of the things that I do is I write pitches, so I have to sum up projects. What's this TV show about? And his tagline on the original Quigley cover is, "Can man's best friend actually be smarter than man? There's more to this dog than meets the eye." And it's that's not what this, we know that the dog is a guy from the beginning. That's not what this is about. And it just drives me insane. Also, when he's angel dog on a mission for Quigley, it's not, that's closer, but not also what it is. It's the movie's about his redemption, the dog, not. Anyway,
Ben, you got to help this guy so he can see Quigley
love
too.
to, but you really can't help people like this because it wouldn't. You want to see what they do on their own.
Yeah,
That's
he seems
true.
pretty stuck in his old Hollywood ways. If you look at his page that is soliciting clients for his screenwriting advice.
I love these pictures of him just standing around.
Yeah, those are really good.
There's a picture of him at the very bottom of his website that's him looking pensive while a horse is licking.
Yes.
But
I'm
I'm looking at it now, and it sort of looks like the horse image is let's say, for instance, he made this in Photoshop. It sort of looks like the horse layer is intersecting with the bill layer.
It's very strange.
I don't know. That might just be how
Very
low res
suspect.
it is, but it looks very strange. Quite a character. Yeah, no, I agree with you, Ben. It's an artist like this is just should be left to just make anything he wants.
Yeah. I have to point out that he says Quigley was rated as one of the top 20 children family films of all time.
Yes.
2 million copies sold in the U.S.
He says he sold 2 million DVDs in the United States.
Definitely not.
In a just
Definitely.
world, but it's just, I'm sorry. It didn't.
We're gonna
it
have
just
to get
didn't
to the
happen.
bottom of that.
Yeah, we're gonna do an investigation.
Do some fact checking.
But let's take anyone listening through the plot of Quigley. Not that we have to go beat by beat and, summarize the whole film, but I would enjoy taking people on sort of a theater of the mind journey through Quigley. How does this film start? Like, what are the dynamics at play here?
They definitely, like we were saying before, they set up Gary Busey's character about, like, it's very important that he hates dogs.
Yes.
And that is, like, said over and over again. I hate dogs, but there's no reason why he hates dogs. He just hates them.
Yeah.
And in that first scene where he just slips in that shit, and then he starts talking about a virtual CD. I really like. So he talks about all this shit, virtual reality. What does he say?
He's covered in shit his whole workday too.
Yeah.
Nobody has the gall to tell the boss that they're covered in shit.
Yeah. He's also demanding that Booger or Curtis Armstrong play a CD at a meeting, and then he goes on a trip in his convertible and starts playing the CD himself, and the CD is just him talking and just saying a bunch of really mean shit to his employees and like taking away all of their like benefits and stuff. It's like, why? He's
That's
like, I'm going on vacation.
Virtual reality CD-ROM.
There's a confusion about what a CD-ROM is and what a video game is, I think, by the filmmaker. And I think like it would be like if I made a movie about like, oh yeah, these are Bitcoin guys or something. Like I don't know anything about Bitcoin, but that's like a cool buzzword thing. For him, it's like video games and CD-ROMs are like the cool. That's what kids like, and this is like, so that'll be cool.
A virtual, If you go to work and your boss is announcing a virtual reality CD-ROM game, then you better get your resume up to date, because that is corporate lingo for mass layoffs.
Well, I guess if he is just recording stuff that is going to be written into corporate law, and it's him yelling at them, that's like how he normally acts. So in his mind, that is a sort of virtual reality.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's creating a boss experience, sort of a boss ASMR.
Oh, it's like there is that VR game where you fire a guy.
Oh yeah,
it was like the corporate training thing to help like bosses get used to firing people.
It's real. It's not like
What was that called? You fired a guy named Bill or something, or Bob.
Neoliberalism caught up with Quigley in a way that we didn't anticipate.
Barry sobbed as he begged for his job. VR is getting heavy. That's in the LA Times. It's called Tailspin is the company that made it. And it's like a job training simulator for like middle management level people.
That is so deeply dark.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely important to set up. Yeah. The hating dogs is sort of equated with, living a life that doesn't value the little things, that values money over love and friendship and, treating humans well. If you don't treat dogs well, if you don't like dogs, then you probably don't treat humans well either.
No, dogs are kind of holy. Like they're like they represent like moral center, family.
Yes, very much so. While he's driving in his convertible, listening to himself talk, he has a terrible accident. A dog that I guess later find out it's Quigley, right? It's the Pomeranian runs into the road.
Yeah.
It's Quigley, and he swerves to avoid this dog, even though for all intents and purposes we would think that he'd be the type of guy, if he saw a dog in a road, that would just keep driving.
This is less than 5 minutes after he ran out of his car and tried to kill one with his bare hands.
Right. He got the perfect opportunity to kill a dog.
The satisfaction of killing it with his bare hands.
Right. He's a sportsman. Like he's not just gonna
take the easy kill.
Right. But he gets into a car accident because he swerves to avoid a dog that we will soon learn is Quigley, and this is where the story really begins.
Yeah, the quick transition to heaven. Where they're just these three angels arguing. They're just so
standing
upset.
in a line.
Like they're so personally offended by him in a way that it's like, really, you don't deal with this all the time?
It has no redeeming value whatsoever. The man has never done a good deed in his entire life.
What about the dog? He didn't run over the dog, did he?
His jerking of the steering wheel was a reflex, hardly an achievement.
Yeah, it's also the bureaucracy, the bureaucary of heaven that they have to speak through consult with each other, then talk to the guardian angel, then the guardian angel has to talk to Gary Busey.
Yeah, I don't think
and
he
all
really
within
worked
like 5
out.
feet of each other.
I don't think he really worked out how heaven really works. I think.
Well, that was what Gary Busey said it was like. Otherwise, he wouldn't have done the film.
Yeah, he's an expert. He's an expert.
Right. Heaven is like the DMV and the couch is a certain way.
Yeah.
And in heaven he is assigned a guardian angel named Sweeney, who's portrayed by Oz Perkins. This guardian angel is to watch over him on Earth. Oh, I should of course say that he is sent back to Earth briefly, being told that he's dead. He's not going to be alive again. But he has to make up for his sins on Earth of not being a very good person. And in order to do this, he's going to have to complete some assignments. And he's not going to be a human. He's going to be a dog named Quigley. Quigley is a little white Pomeranian. And that is his fate. He must make these things right as Quigley. He's Quigley now.
I somehow missed what his mission was. He has two things, or what is it?
They didn't explain it. It was sort of like he had to go back there and prove that he was worthy to get in heaven, I think was the general implication.
Yeah.
But I feel like I feel like I'm under the impression that if he does the thing right, he gets to be a person again. But I guess they don't really make it that clear.
No,
I don't think so.
It's just he's supposed to go to Earth and do something as Quigley, and they won't tell him what it is he has to do.
Yeah, I think that's my first big note is that's got to get cleared out.
Yeah.
You don't,
and why it has to be a dog that does it and not just send him back to heaven as himself to right whatever wrongs he's committed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is why we have heaven and hell.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, which goes to the fact again that like this is not, at least for a while in the film, this is not the most Christian film. It deals with heaven and hell and angels in a very sort of like non-specific, like pop cultural, secular understanding of the term. Hell. That's true. Yeah, that's never really a possibility. Like he's told that he might not get into heaven per se, but it's not that he's going to be damned. Like damnation is never really at stake here.
And he's reincarnated, which is a big no in the Christian faith. And he also has his office is decorated with Egyptian idols.
Well, they also never mention like a Bible verse or Jesus, or like they don't get specific like you're saying.
Not
Do they?
until the very end.
At the very end, they hint at one, which I will reveal.
I can't wait.
But they hint at one. It never gets to the like real like spiritual aspect of it. But he is given another chance down to Earth. He's now a Pomeranian. Of course, there's a big adjustment period for him that's very difficult. But he makes his way back to his office building where he works. Do they know he's dead?
No, I don't think they do for the whole movie. I think the idea is like no one's found his car. He doesn't have a body because he's a dog. So it's like he's got a little bit of time before they start to ask questions. Because he was going. That's right. He was going on vacation.
Right.
That's where he was headed. That's why.
Right.
That's why he was listening to a CD of him talking in his car,
Right.
to his employees.
Right. Yes, but basically this is setting up that there's this whole situation with the CD-ROM. There's this like CD-ROM that he's going to play for the company, but then he decides like to destroy it because it's like it's not good stuff on the CD-ROM. Like what's that about? It's
very confusing because he also hides it in his office for some strange reason. He wanted someone to play it. Why did he hide it? It doesn't make any sense.
The
That's the
CD-ROM
one directive he gave to his assistant was to play the CD.
Was it in the speech?
I think that, I don't know because it's really confusing because he says he's got a new 3D virtual CD-ROM that he wants to play for the shareholders. But then he's also got this other CD that's him talking and telling all of his employees that they don't get any sick days and they're like, getting fired or whatever. But the only time you hear that is when he plays it for himself when he's going on vacation.
This is why most tech startups fail in the first 6 months.
Right.
Because of leadership like this.
Right.
Yeah.
I think this is still early enough in human history that people would still get a little confused about what CD-ROM exactly means. So I think they're like talking about two different CDs. And one is like a game demo and one is just like a burned CD.
I think you're right.
But there's also this aspect that there's definitely a game that he's going to present to the shareholders, because it's not really directly said, but it's hinted at the idea that like his company makes like trash games, like violent games, because even his secretary is like, when Quigley infiltrates the office and befriends the secretary and she's like, "Oh, what are you doing, boy?" He like finds a CD-ROM and destroys it as a dog. And the woman's like, "Oh yeah, I guess there was some kind of disturbing stuff on there."
Oh, I'm not sure what we should do with that. There's supposed to be some pretty disturbing things on it. Wait, Archie wanted that played at the stockholders meeting. Put it down. No.
So this is a disturbing game.
Well, this brings up one of the best moments of the film, which is when the dog drops the CD out of its mouth and it shatters. Because I really believe the writer did not know that CDs weren't glass.
Yes.
And was probably in the room, was like, "Oh shit, it's just plastic. Well, fuck it. Like, let's just have it shatter." Anyway, even though CDs never shattered.
Yeah.
So it drops 4 inches, and then you hear like a loud glass shattering sound, and then it's just a regular broken CD that's dropped again 4 inches on the desk from his mouth.
This is just a movie of the director discovering what a CD actually is.
Yes.
That's the meta story of this.
Yes. Gary Busey's mission was to be sent to Earth in order to teach men, women, and children about this new technology known as compact disc.
To teach William Hillman specifically.
Yeah. I think he wrote like the first 4 pages and then like a year later picked it up again without rereading those 4 pages. And was just like, I get the idea. It was about a CD-ROM game, right?
His own movie, you mean?
Yeah.
I think he made an outline for a story that he spent a lot of time on, the outline. And then I think he just was like, the writing part, I think he really rushed.
We can learn it all if we just sign up for his script writing courses.
Oh, my God.
And he'll teach us how to pitch it, too. So I know what I'm getting Ben for his birthday.
Yes, please. The master class.
Well, so if Quigley destroys the CD-ROM game, then the shareholders need to see something, okay? So
damn shareholders.
This then introduces what ends up being like the final main like moral lesson that Archie as Quigley is going to learn. And it turns out, very convenient, that Archie has a long-lost brother who is also a video game designer.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
This is going to set up the final arc of the movie. I do just want to, and we've talked about it a little bit, but I do just want to make sure we land on the fact that like indie video game developers are like the heroes of this story.
Yeah.
Like they are... One man, a family man, can make the new hot video game that's going to sweep the nation in 2003.
2 jobs.
Yeah.
Living
it's
in his
basically
multi-million
Stardew
property.
Valley.
Yes.
Yes. Essentially Stardew.
That's what I think is so innovative about this film, is that like it did sort of anticipate the like the indie game gone viral. You know, this anticipated the Stardew Valley, the Undertale.
Yeah.
You know, this game that's Archie's brother Woodward Channing.
He's like, he's the delivery guy, and whatever his night job is, also works on Newgrounds Flash games in his spare time that are going to make him millions and millions of dollars. Yeah. I want to see his Half-Life 2 mods in 2003. What he's got going on Gary's mod.
Yeah, Woodward's mod.
Another big note I have is the daughter, like the family and the main story even though he does mention his brother, they feel so disconnected. Like it just feels like all of a sudden the little girl's there and that family's now that's the movie, and it doesn't really like warm you up enough for that, I guess.
Right. No, absolutely not. It becomes a second film.
Yes.
It's now about Quigley, who's a man in a dog's body, living with this like perfect family.
Beautiful family.
Yeah, truly. Woodward Channing, as Julian was saying, works like 3 jobs and is an indie game dev on the side in the year 2003. The son and daughter get along perfectly. They're just like little cherubs. You know, they're both like, I don't know, 10, 11 years old. And they agree on everything. They play great together. They know exactly what to do when they find a new dog. They're like, should we put up signs and like let its owner like know that we have their dog? And you know, they're just like they're just perfect kids.
Well, I think someone must miss him very much, don't you guys?
Can we make up signs that say that we found a dog?
Yes, of course we can. That is a wonderful idea.
If no one wants him, can we keep him, Mama?
Well, it's a little early to discuss that, Brian, but you know what? Why don't you go and get some of Frisky's food and see if this little guy's hungry?
The wife is so supportive of Woodward's. She's like, once you make that video game, everything's going to be different. Like, you just got to finish that indie game, honey. She has so much faith.
And both the kids love the game, too. Like, this is the best demo ever, Dad.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
They're trying to make the dog play it.
Yeah.
He needs fingers and
we
hands.
should mention, though, how Quigley came to them is that he's a very tiny Pomeranian. I don't think we can stress this enough. He somehow pushes the girl out of the middle of the road to save her from getting hit by an automobile. You don't see it because that's impossible, but good dog.
Good dog.
Yeah, really good dog.
Great dog.
It seems like Archie experienced ego death when he died at the in the car accident too, because like he has a complete personality change.
You think before the revelation at the end, he's
he's like he no longer seems to hate dogs or like people in general. Like he makes it his whole. I mean, I guess he saves a kid's life, which I would hope anybody would do, even if they hate dogs. But I mean, he's like dead set on like helping people and making things right. But I guess it could be out of his own self-interest.
He's just running on dog instinct in that situation.
I would say that I do think we were saying before and about the Christian values that dogs represent family, which represents redemption and holiness. And that like just the mere fact that he's becoming a dog, like he hates dogs equally as he hates his brother. And he says about his brother, he spends all his time being married. Spends all his time being married. Like, what does that mean? Raising kids or something like that. Like he's his opposite, you know, he's like a very holy man who's done his duty of being married and having children. And then the dog comes into his life and he loves the dog. And that's Archie's way to redemption, is by being forced into the like family as a body. This is the dog.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. That's a really good point. Yeah, he is made to join the family body, and his role in the family is dog, which is like, in this movie basically posits that dog is an inherent member of the nuclear family structure.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's probably the biggest religious message, even more than just like having heaven in it. Because you're right, it's just kind of like pop, like versions of heaven, but it's really just that like intense focus on family.
Yeah,
I think that like really feels conservative to me.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, that is definitely the overwhelming message of this is how important family is and how much that is contrasted with, you know, valuing money and valuing your work. You know, mostly this arc of the film is, you know, just getting to know the family and how absolutely perfect they are with no flaws, and Quigley just doing, you know, everything he can to help out. This includes a very tense scene where the daughter of the Channing family goes missing. Quigley finds her, and I do quickly want to point out something I've never quite seen in a film before, which is a pop song that's like structuring the film, and it's just, you know, about like I can't even remember what it starts about, and then halfway through the tone just completely changes. It's like the same singer, and all of a sudden it's like, I'm lost in the woods and I don't know how to get.
Won't you please stay and be my friend? Well, help me now, I've gone astray. Please help me now, can't find my way.
I mean, it was very video game like, honestly, the more I think about it. It was like a video game where you move into a new sector of a level and like the music stays going, but the tone completely changes.
I mean, I think that like I respect the fact that some movies have like a song that is about the plot, but this movie has like 5 songs that are about every aspect of the plot.
Take one last glance and you will see I'm Quigley and you can depend on me.
And it found time to fit them in, even in such a fast-paced movie. To what you were saying earlier, Ben, about how efficiently it got into the dog body swapping narrative. This movie found time for all that dialogue, all that plot, and still had room for 5 musical numbers. And this is an hour and a half. I mean, this is a very well-paced and efficiently done film.
It really is, honestly. It does have good pacing. I will give it that.
Yes. Which is, I mean, for us doing the show, I mean, that is a godsend, truly, because, I mean, we've watched so many that are just like, oh boy, okay, 2 hours and 15 minutes. All right, like let's see what you got. This one was a delight in comparison.
I have a big question I was just thinking about, if I may interrupt.
Please.
Which is, do we think that what's his name, William Hillman, sees himself as the dad, the indie game developer dad, the like guy who's got these, because it's in the same way that he's got these like all these movies that if everyone just knew if they knew about him, he could put it out, but he's got family and he's got heart, and like he's actually secretly the hero, even though he doesn't make like multi-billion dollars or whatever he says about that guy. I kind of think that's supposed to be William.
Which kind of makes sense.
William Byron Hillman.
Yeah, it also makes sense because he writes on his website that he made all of his money by being like being under contract for writing movies with a bunch of studios, but they never made any of his scripts or anything. Like he was basically getting paid to do nothing, and how it was like tearing him apart. How like people would say like, "Oh, I thought you were retired," or "I thought you like quit the business," but really he was like in there. Just nothing he was doing was getting made, and so I guess he has to turn to this like indie movie development. And it also kind of explains why maybe thinks that a person who works a day job and a night job as like a delivery person can afford a like multi-million-dollar home in the mountains of Van Nuys.
Yeah, I mean that's really interesting to me, because it's like the dad is. It's like his wish fulfillment. It's like really the direct. Yeah. That's really the story to me. It's like the director's wish fulfillment that he's going to be discovered.
Yes.
That his family, his own brother is going to finally see that he's really got like what it takes, and that his estranged family members are going to come back to him. That God is going to bring them back to him in the form of like
his estranged brother Michael Eisner is going to read Quigley and make it into the next Disney franchise.
Well, isn't that totally auteur mindset? And we see this over and over. All of us here, I know you, Ben, and all of us who do this show, we love film auteurs. For instance, a name we've brought up multiple times on the show, even though he's not a Christian filmmaker, Neil Breen. In every Neil Breen film, he plays God, essentially. He plays a man who is not only perfect and flawless, and every other character is like, wow, did you see that guy? He's amazing. Like he literally has like all powers. Like, he's like literally a godlike figure. In this film, I mean, Bill Hillman at least is a little more humble than that, but you're right. I think that's a really good point. I do think the character of Woodrow Channing is an author insert as a literally flawless family man who's just
Woodrow
working hard.
William. I mean,
okay.
He's totally a Bob Revere character where you're supposed to know within 2 minutes that he can do no wrong because he's a good white family man.
100%. So yeah, definitely auteur mindset on display. I guess then, like, just for the purposes of, like, you know, we'll leave some to the imagination, but closing out the plot, the big, like, final chase sequence in this film is that Quigley gets the brilliant idea that, like, well, this guy has an amazing game, which, by the way, is called Tiny Tales. As Julian said, it's sort of like a Newgrounds Flash game, but it's about, like, animals. It also somehow immediately automatically knows the name of the person who's playing it. Like,
even if they're a dog.
Yeah, even if it's a dog, like it called him by his like human name. Which is really remarkable. Honestly,
that is
like,
remarkable.
Very innovative.
That might be why the game is going to be so successful, because it can detect if your dog is a human spirit trapped inside of it.
It's a precursor to like data mining. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, Quigley just steals the game from the computer and fucking takes off running. Just starts running down the highway and takes this game to Archie Channing's company, which is looking, just so happens, for a CD-ROM to show their shareholders.
And does he say he's doing that? I mean, that's one of the weird things about this movie is that I think you don't get to hear a lot of what Archie, when he's Quigley, is thinking. They don't have a voiceover, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And I think it's partially probably because they only had probably like 2 days with Gary Busey, is my guess.
Right.
1 or 2 days, so they could only get so much. But so when Gary Busey's the dog, when he's Quigley, he's just kind of doing things sometimes. And I'm like, why is he taking the CD-ROM? Like, do they answer that he's doing that on purpose, or was it like, was he like, I'm going to help my brother, or was he like just, what was his intention? Do they mention it?
They don't answer it. No, I think that like I, as the audience member, assumed that was what was going on, but they definitely don't address it. It's just like Quigley is being mischievous and just like steals the thing and runs with it.
There's 2 times where someone walks in on Quigley and he's just on a desk and everything on the desk is trashed. Like, and I'm like, what did he do to everything on the desk?
Yeah. especially given that he knows what he's doing. He's was just after one thing, but he still trashed fucking everything on the desk looking for it. This leads then to the final meeting at the office where oh God, what's his Curtis Armstrong. Yeah. Where Curtis Armstrong, who's sort of de facto running the company in Gary Busey's character's absence, meets his brother Woodward Channing, portrayed by Christopher Adkins, and finds the CD-ROM in Quigley's mouth and is like, "This is it. This is the new game we're looking for."
This is the best game I've ever played. I mean, it's far better than anything we've ever developed.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Dexter. Maybe next time.
Hey, what are you doing with my games?
Your games, the dog brought them in.
And it provides, that perfect plot resolution.
Yeah, he doesn't even play the game. Right?
Right.
He just essentially sees like the title screen.
What does he say? This is going to be the best game, or this is the best game I've ever played, after playing it for like less than 30 seconds. Then what happens next? We are taken back to heaven, where we have the climactic moment where Gary Busey is going to find out if his deeds on earth are
tease
enough
you
to get him into heaven. Mm-hmm. And we hear the voice of God, William Hillman
himself.
William Byron Hillman himself.
He does play God in this film, literally.
Of course.
What does he say? You can't. He delivers his final judgment.
You cannot earn your way into heaven by doing good deeds, Archie. The only way into heaven is by faith, and faith alone.
Okay, so this, I guess, leads to what could maybe be considered the most Christian part of the film, which I'll posit to everyone here, and we can talk about whether we actually think it like achieves its mission of delivering this lesson, but it ends with them talking about the fact that you cannot get to heaven by deeds alone. It's by faith. The Bible verse, it's a very famous Bible verse that's referring to. It's Ephesians 2, verses 8 through 9. In the New International Version, it says, "For it is by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not from yourselves. It is the gift of God, not by works." I am going to argue that is the exact opposite of what happened in this film.
Yeah, they were just fucking with him by this logic.
I think it could also be a kind of loose definition of the concept of faith.
Sure.
Like he's gained faith, and it wasn't about the deeds.
Yeah.
Is that possible?
Well, I mean, when you go to heaven and see heaven, I mean, how much faith do you need to believe in heaven at that point?
Yes.
Well, that's what I mean. Why it's like maybe it's just a misunderstanding of the word faith by the author. And that he's like faith and moral code are the same thing, but that those are opposites, is what you're saying. That one is and ethics and morals are your actions and deeds, essentially.
But that's very true, Scott, and it's something we run into all the time, like critiquing Christian films for this show, is that, obviously we're supposed to learn a lesson of faith, and, cinema obviously gives us the opportunity to visualize something that we can't really see, but that being obvious, like in the films that we watch, characters have to learn these lessons of faith, but they're being shown the answers. They're gifted a supernatural experience where you get to speak to God directly, where you get to have guardian angels, you get to see heaven, and they learn through this to be faithful. And it's like, well, yeah, if God just like straight up Joan of Arc style spoke to any of us right now, like we would believe in God. Like you'd be an idiot not to.
He also kind of demonstrates he still doesn't have faith in the sense that when they're he continues to kind of argue, where they're like, "You did this," and he's like, "Yeah, but I didn't want to. Can you please?"
You almost caused several accidents in your haste. You continue to behave as though you were the only one that's important.
I did find the girl.
Yes. After you forgot to watch her and she slipped out of the house.
You're still rough around the edges, Archer Channing. Still taking shortcuts at others' expense.
I know. Next time.
There is no such thing as next time. There are no second chances, Archie Channing. You are what you are, a miserable human being.
Like he has no faith. Like the faith in that moment, if he was supposed to demonstrate faith, would be like, whatever you choose, I accept. I believe that you're, that you're here for me, and et cetera, or whatever. But he really is just like, come on.
God, just get 2 or 3 of my best lawyers up here. We're gonna figure this thing out. We're gonna straighten this thing out.
We're gonna hash this out. I really want to go back a step and point out a line in the movie that's one of the weirdest things I've ever heard, which was when Gary Busey says, "I'd have a better time cleaning a short person's teeth."
I forgot.
And I'm trying to figure. It's like in the context of it, it was like, why don't you do this thing you don't want to do? And he said, I'd have a better time cleaning a short person's teeth. Like that, cleaning a short person's teeth is like some horrible task, and I just don't understand.
Sounds like he might have been able to slip in one of his famous Buseyisms.
I really hope that to be.
I think that he might have demanded that, because that just reminds me of like all the insane stuff he would say on "I'm with Busey."
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, regardless of its origin, like a very sublime moment in this. I mean, there were so many like great Busey. Well, it's funny because honestly, throughout the film, I was writing down some of my favorite Busey lines, but as I was writing them down, I realized like, that's a notable exception. I mean, that on itself is just a great line. But there were so many lines that like weren't even necessarily on their face, like weird, but it's just the way he said them, where he was just like, "I'm only 10 inches tall," or like just like things like that. It was just like just really well done in general.
Yeah, I often really appreciate, like now that I've directed some of these like Audible audiobooks or whatever. So I'm always listening to people's takes. Like I'm listening to like the way that they act. So I'm always thinking about people's voices.
Yeah.
And he has a beautiful voice. Like his voice is really good. And the way he voices things is really good. But I'm also really into the visual side. Like when people talk about like, what's his name? Tony Soprano, James Gandolfini.
Yeah.
Like it's like what he does when he doesn't have a line. That's so amazing.
Yes.
And Gary Busey is that absolutely. Like his manner and like in the moments in between his lines when he's just like he has a whole scene where he's just kind of looking around his room or he's like he's reacting to something, but his reactions and his movements are just so interesting. Like they're just so good. And he embodies the character when he's not in the moment. You know, he's just good. I would love to work with him.
Oh my God.
Yeah. He's all in.
Yes. Yes. He is responsible. This movie could have been a failure.
Yeah. Start going to his church. Apparently that's all it takes.
That's true. Yeah.
There you go.
That's what they say.
Yeah. Well, plot-wise, the only main important detail to tie in is that he is given a second chance. He awakens on the hospital bed, and he's given another lease at life.
Everything that happened didn't actually happen before.
Right.
By the way, everything that happened in the movie didn't actually happen.
Of course. Very convenient.
But wait, I am confused by that. Like, did all the stuff happen with his brother?
No,
with the video game.
He goes there and he's like, "What do you want? I haven't seen you in years." And he's like,
"So they confirm it was a dream."
Yeah,
I believe so.
Coma.
Crazy.
But he learned psychic things from this dream.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
or even potentially he lived this all like he lived like Last Temptation of Christ style or something, and then it just didn't happen to everyone else. It only happened to him, basically.
Yeah.
Well, there's
Maybe,
that
possibly
that thing, and it was always in like 90s because 90s loved the "it was all a dream" thing. That was like it was still hot back then.
Oh yeah.
And but the classic thing to do is to give that little nod of "was it a dream?"
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they did that when he's driving and he sees Oz and Quigley.
Oh,
he drives by and it's like a flash of Oz and Quigley. And then they disappear. And I think that's supposed to be if he had been better at actually like the intricacies of plot and dialogue. If he was better at communicating anything that was happening in the movie other than just like the big movements, I think that was supposed to read as like ooh.
He brought something back with him.
But it wasn't immediately obvious to me that we were supposed to believe that none of that happened.
Yes.
Because it doesn't need to be that way. It doesn't need to be a dream. It can just have happened.
Sure. It's a movie. Anything can happen.
Yeah, it's a movie.
It definitely defaulted to that because that is like probably about 40% of the movies we have watched are, it was all a dream. Right before the very end.
Do you think that they're trying to absolve themselves? Like what you're saying about it being like reincarnation's frowned upon. It's like, well, it wasn't really.
That's exactly how it happened in Me Again.
Well, that's true. That's true. Yeah, a film that we watched recently for the show, Me Again. No dog involved, but
goldfish.
He does warp into a goldfish briefly. Yeah. That's pretty cool. But another thing. It's like it was a dream. It didn't happen.
Supernatural things aren't real. That's witchcraft.
Right. But he still learned. He still gleaned information from this trip. One thing I did want to say, Ben. I agree that this is a very in the tradition of 90s pop culture movie. Maybe at 2003, he had this in development for a little bit because they also loved angels in the 90s.
Mm-hmm. That's so true.
Guardian Angels was like such a big deal.
Touched by an angel.
Oh,
like seeing angels.
Yeah.
And aliens. Caught
Well, what do you guys think about, because like
autopsy.
Christianity in pop culture and shows was like ubiquitous.
It's true.
Yeah.
At a time. And now it feels very heavy handed when I look back on stuff. I feel like, oh my God, look at this like Christian message and like this episode of the show I used to watch, but it's just everything.
Yeah.
And now it is just like, it's so much more divided where it's like, it just feels like more than before. And so like what you're saying about how do you create that spectrum and where do you set the line because it changes. That line changes depending on, I think, like the decade it comes out. Like if something like this were to come out now, it would feel more religious.
Yeah.
I think than it probably did.
Yeah,
in the early 2000s.
If your movie in the early 2000s and 90s and everything before that is essentially like as secular as it can get, even if you are talking to God and there's angels and like you have to do good deeds to get into heaven. Right. That's about as secular as you can get in
because it's like basically
90s American
folklore.
Media.
Yeah,
we all agree that there's a God and a heaven.
Standard angel-sploitation.
Yeah.
Angels in the Outfield, another one.
One of my favorite movies when I was a kid. I was obsessed with that movie. But yeah, no, absolutely. Michael, Angels in the Outfield. I don't know, so many more. But I agree. I think that is how Quigley is a Christian movie is in the folklore sense. In this sort of like American folklore tradition, like contemporary American folklore tradition, which leads me to believe that this was a 90s idea that took many years to execute, or this was just this guy was just a couple years in the past.
It's non-denominational. Yeah.
It feels pre 9/11. Even though it was post just.
I wonder how long it was in. I mean, even if he had the idea for a while, it's like it, had to shoot it, edit it, and it came out in 2003. So it could have been shot, or you're right, like mostly written in the 90s. Yeah.
Quigley, yeah, I love this guy. Quigley's cool.
Quigley is cool.
What do you say? Anything we may have forgotten to bring up that anyone's itching to bring up? If not, I would say I'd love to give this movie its official rating. Did we miss anything?
Let me check my notes.
Yeah, me too.
There was the scene where Booger put peanut butter on his balls and Quigley licked it off.
I want to make it clear that there's a lot of moments where we see Quigley the dog as a dog, and it's like a wider shot, and then we see a very close up of Gary Busey with a dog collar on, acting like a dog. This happens a lot throughout the movie.
There's also this guy couldn't decide on what the bumbling foil to Quigley was going to be, because it was the German janitor for 3 minutes in the movie, and then it was the two dopey security guards for the next 3 minutes, and then it was the animal control guy for the next 3 minutes, and then there was just nothing else for the rest of the movie.
They do each feel like they're trying to figure out who's the comedic, who should we try this kind of character, or
they all had a really bold, pretty bad comedic choice.
Yeah, it's like they're auditioning them. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to say.
They got one auditioning. They got one from Groundlings, one from Second City, and one from UCB, and let them all go at it.
Yeah. The German janitor especially was the most egregious.
He's got very theater local theater vibes.
Yeah, very. Was ist das? Finds dog hair in a fucking closet. Very nice. I would say I think it's time to give this film the official Boys Bible Study rating. What did we, the co-hosts of Boys Bible Study and our guest today, Ben O'Brien, think of the film Quigley? I've got to say, Quigley was while it may not have been the most Christian film that we watched, I definitely think it was wholesome, family friendly. I mean, even at the end of the credits, it boasted acclaim from the Dove Foundation and some sort of Christian Family Films Association. I mean, I don't know. He could have just written those in the credits for all I know. But still, it definitely you could show this one to your Sunday school class. A little bizarre, but definitely Christian to an extent and family friendly. I'm gonna have to give this film $4.99 out of $4.99 on sale on Steam, because that's pretty much how much you're going to be able to buy this game, Tiny Tales, as developed by Woodrow Channing. That's probably about the most money you're going to get from this. So, perfect movie, in my opinion.
Hey, wow, that's amazing. That's perfect score. Way to go, Quigley.
Yeah.
Very rare, very rare. I loved this beautiful Angelsploitation movie. It truly delighted me. So much so that I'm going to have to give it a 1/4 of an inch wide and 1 foot long. That's your soul, and your soul is housed in the column of your spine.
I believe that's a perfect rating.
Yeah. Run the numbers.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm also going to have to give mine in the form of a Buseyism in one of his famous acronyms, Quigley. Quite unbelievable. It's great. Loved every GIF. Because it is kind of like soft, furry. And that is a perfect acronym, by the way.
Glowing reviews. The experts say it's perfect.
They say it's one of the top 20 children's movies of all time.
One of the top 20 of all time. I'm glad you guys brought all that up and made those great points. After careful thought and going over this movie with a fine-tooth comb, I'm going to give this movie 5 shattered virtual CD-ROMs. And I would say that this movie is not anything like cleaning a short person's teeth. This movie is like cleaning. Wow. See the tallest guy you've ever seen. You've got a toothbrush at the end of a very long stick, and you are brushing that guy's teeth all day. You're having a great time. It's incredible, and for me, that's a 5 out of 5. That's a perfect score.
That's perfect.
Don't ever play those CD-ROMs.
No, they've
There's
got bad
horrible
stuff
things
on
them.
Quigley's done it again. I'm looking forward to Quigley's future work. This film was made, I believe, 17 years ago. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what Quigley the dog is going to do next. Ben, I'm really appreciative that you joined us today. Thanks for showing us Quigley.
Extremely happy to be here. Had a great time.
Oh, thanks. And I'm so glad you had fun. We did too. Where can anyone listening to Boys Bible Study find you? Is there any place online they should find you? Is there any work of yours that they should check out, etc.?
Sure. You can find me on Twitter. If you Google, Wham City Comedy, you can find our work on our website. But really, I think that we should promote Quigley's site.
Yes.
QuigleySite.com, and they're trying to make. I'm sure he's trying to make Quigley too. So just support. I just linked up with William Byron Hillman on LinkedIn.
Wow. Very good.
Nice. So I just suggest you get out there and you support.
Excited.
And you support William Byron Hillman more than me. So get out. We need Quigley too.
Let's get him on here for Quigley too.
Yeah.
This movie was 17 years ago. I don't want to end the podcast on a bummer, but this podcast is dedicated to every dog that appeared in this movie because they are no longer with us.
R.I.P.
Even the Quigley puppy at the end.
Even the puppy. Oh no! Even Knuckles.
Even Knuckles. Knuckles is DOA.
Rest in power, Knuckles. Thank you again, Ben, for joining us. On the Boys Bible Study side of things, as always, if you enjoy our free episodes, which you can find at boysbiblestudy.com, subscribe and check out our back catalog there. We also invite you, if you'd like to support us and get more episodes, to go to patreon.com/boysbiblestudy. Anyone who pledges $5 or more. We make 2 new bonus episodes every month that are not available to the public, and we have a year's worth of back catalog that you can enjoy right away. We also shout out our very special patron saints at the $20 tier. Thank you all so much for your support. Russell, Nicole, Marissa, and Jeff. Thanks. We really appreciate it. Our outro song is Oh My God by Mary. On behalf of myself, Ash, my co-hosts, Scott and Julian, our guest today, Ben O'Brien, we would like to say, peace be with you.
And also with you.
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. I feel your love in me, it's coming from within. Oh my God, my devotion is so unwavering. Divine emotions when you enter me. Every day